Good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. I am Gunnar Rios, and welcome to another episode of the Logical Gamers podcast. We got the whole gang for this one. This one's going to be a good one. I'm here with BlankaKong, Mr. Esoteric, Mr. Hotto Wolf, and Mr. Zeta Kaiser. So the whole crew for this one. So today's topic is going to kind of be it's going to be a good one. JRPGs, the weebs in the audience are going to be happy about this one. We're going to be talking about Fire Emblem. Our experiences with Fire Emblem, what we like about it, what we dislike, how each game kind of that we've played has kind of like shaped our understanding of the series, and it'll culminate in our discussion about the latest Fire Emblem game to hit the market, Fire Emblem Engage for the Nintendo Switch. So, I hope you guys enjoy that, and here we go. So, Fire Emblem, it's one of Nintendo's major IPs. I'd say it's not on the same level as your Mario and your Zelda and things of that nature, but it's one of their flagship IPs. It's been around. It started on the Nintendo Entertainment System, went through the SNES, went through N64. It's practically, for the most part, there's been a Fire Emblem game on pretty much every Nintendo platform.
It's been everywhere but the Virtual Boy.
Right. Yes, there is no. I think there's only a Mario game as far as IP for first-party IPs for Nintendo on that one. But the Virtual Boy is
N64.
That's a hot
well,
mess.
Right? There's no Fire Emblem on N64.
I believe there was a Fire Emblem.
Nah, I don't think so.
Oh, there you go. Then
We're not even 5 minutes and we're already getting called out.
hey, I never claimed to be a Fire Emblem historian. I'm just a dude who plays them. But yeah, it's been around. It's been around for a while. But there was a point where Fire Emblem was very close to going the way of F-Zero, kind of. Just being shelved forever and being a fond memory until Fire Emblem Awakening dropped on the
3DS.
3DS,
Yes.
right? Not even 3DS, and just basically fucking propelled Fire Emblem to one of Nintendo's main franchises. So it's still lower than the big boys like Mario and Zelda, but it's there. It's there. So I'll just go over my history of the franchise, and then Wolf and Zeta will comment on theirs, and Kong and Esoteric can chime in if they have any questions, comments, concerns. So when I started playing Fire Emblem, my first Fire Emblem was Shadow Dragon on the DS. And at the time, for me, it was a new game, and I think mostly everybody in North America, it was a new game because I didn't know at the time, because I wasn't his first, that's Marth's original game, and nobody played it in North America until the DS version came over, and that was the West's first time playing Fire Emblem. So when I played that game, I was like, "Oh, this shit is fucking amazing!" And there's like, "Oh, it's the guy from Smash Bros." Because for people that don't know, in Smash Brothers on the GameCube, Melee, I believe, Melee. There was this weird Japanese guy with a sword, and not a lot of people in the West knew who he was. It was just like, this guy is speaking Japanese. He counters everything that moves. Who is this guy? And then when you looked in the bio, it said Fire Emblem, and we're like, what the fuck's a Fire Emblem? So, Nintendo just threw him in there. It was like, I don't know, fucking play with him or not, I don't care. And so I finally got to play his game, and I loved it because it was just a solid, tactical RPG. It was top down, grid focused, and it was just it was just pure bliss for me because I'm a huge tactical RPG guy. I remember a part in that game where I put a heavy knight in a choke point, and I had to, the goal of the mission was to run away to the other side of the map. And there was just something so satisfying about seeing that one heavy knight just stuck in that choke point, literally blocking everything as the rest of my units fled to complete the mission. It's like some fucking Lord of the Rings shit. It was great.
No, not pass.
Yeah, I loved it. And ever since that little moment, which wasn't scripted, this wasn't a cutscene, this wasn't like a dynamic event, it wasn't a button prompt. This is just a natural occurring thing that I made happen in the game. I was like, this Fire Emblem is pretty cool. So, after I played Shadow Dragon, I admit I missed out on Ike's games. I missed out on the Wii and the Wii era of Fire Emblem. And then I came back to Fire Emblem, like a lot of people, in Awakening. And then I pretty much been um, playing Fire Emblem, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll get on that. All the way up into Engage, which is the current iteration of Fire Emblem. So, I'm not a Fire Emblem encyclopedia, but I do like it. I do like the franchise, and I am glad to see it live on. There are certain things that I don't necessarily like that we'll get into, but before I continue rambling on, I'll leave it to the two esteemed gentlemen in our panel who have Fire Emblem experience as well. What was your guys' first Fire Emblem? How many Fire Emblem games have you played, and what's your general opinion on this franchise as a whole?
I guess I'll go because
Yeah,
mine
that's
and
fine.
yours is very similar.
Yeah,
Gunnar?
pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and for me, I'm about to be like, yeah, it is the same.
Yeah, it's all the same. My first Fire Emblem experience was Shadow Dragon on the DS. I think I had bought it like a year after it came out, like 2010 or something like that, just to try it. And I was getting along good with it because, I liked Advance Wars. So I
Right.
figured that much, right?
Yeah.
If I like Advance Wars, I like this Shadow Dragon game. And cool to have, like your swordsmans and your bowmans, and it was pretty interesting. And then one of my characters died, and in the next chapter, I was looking for them and I didn't find them.
Oof.
And the World Wide Web explained to me that Fire Emblem has a mechanic called permanent death, or as short, permadeath. I turned the game off and I returned it because I was not going to deal with that.
People die when they are killed.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, hear me thinking I can use a Phoenix down to bring him back, right? No, they died, so it's like, oh, okay, I lost my bowman. Where'd he go? Okay. Not playing this piece of shit. At least I was younger then, very lack of patience with certain things in video games that I didn't want to deal with. I never made the correlation.
That is if some things have changed.
Some things have changed. I never made the correlation or the connection that Marth in Fire Emblem was the Marth in Smash Brothers, believe it or not. And that's because he was a swordsman and whatever, but my swordsman was Link. And I have a very narrow mind when it comes to like fighting based games. So once I pick my character, everybody else goes invisible to me. So, and in my circle who played Smash Brothers Melee before I met you guys, Marth wasn't a thing. So I saw a lot of Marios, it was a lot of Yoshis, but it was never the Fire Emblem Japanese speaking character. Not even Roy. I think Roy was there as well. But
Yeah.
Yes,
not even Roy my circle would pick when I was younger. So, for me it was just like, okay, this character's strange. That's that. I had a very negative mindset after playing Shadow Dragon to Fire Emblem. I did not play Ike's game because of that. So I skipped over it. When I play tactical RPGs, I have a very weird habit of sacrificing my units to get the job done if need be.
Same.
Fire Emblem doesn't do that. It doesn't allow that. So, yeah. Anyways, I fast forward to Fire Emblem Awakening, and in the need of wanting to play a new game, I decided to give this one a try again. And then I also found out that, they had something called classic mode and casual mode. Casual mode doesn't necessarily make the game easier per se, because it's two difficulties, right? You have your normal, easy, hard, easy, normal, hard, and then you had your casual slash classic. Classic was those who were older Fire Emblem fans who wanted the permadeath system, and casual was the newer Fire Emblem fans who are trying to bring in new Fire Emblem fans who was okay with letting their character die because they know that they'll get their character back at the end of the stage. Honestly, that is a mechanic I love because, again, even now in Engage, I'll sacrifice a character to get the job done if need be. It's just the way I play my tactical RPGs. So I kind of do need the casual setting for Fire Emblem. But overall, Awakening was a phenomenal RPG. Like the story, the characters. Like I get hype when I see Chrom and Lucina in any other media that's not Fire Emblem Awakening. You know, those characters stick with me. Engage, I just got Lucina. So I was like, super excited. Not because Lucina to me is a favorite character per se, but it's because it's a character that I can connect with. And I know this character, right? Because I actually used her in Fire Emblem Awakening. So for me, it was just like, this is amazing. This is awesome. Like I'm using Lucina again, and I hope in DLC future they release Chrom because Chrom is awesome to me. But ever since then, I've played every single Fire Emblem to come out since Awakening. I've beaten them all with the exception of Three Houses, which we'll talk about later. So I'll let Zeta Kaiser take over now.
All right. Well, mine's it's only slightly different from you guys because when I was a very committing legal activities, I played The Blazing Blade, which is the game that Lynn is in or is introduced. So that was my first Fire Emblem, which was way before the remake of Marth's game. And I've kind of just been on and off with each game that comes out. So like the next game that was after that, again, during my very legal activities, was The Sacred Stone, but I didn't really care for that one too much, so I kind of just skipped over it. And then I didn't get back into Fire Emblem again until the Wii, which was Radiant Dawn, and was kind of confused because apparently it was a sequel to to another game. So like they were holding this guy, may not know him, fights for his friends, named Ike. It was like holding him in high regard. I'm like, I have no idea what's going on or who you are.
Why should I care about this Ike fellow?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know anything about you. Anyways, I have this guy that's a thief, but he's hitting harder than most of the melee units. I'm going to keep using him and not the female main character who's a mage because she's a mage. And then, and then like pretty much like everybody else, Awakening came out, and Awakening was good. It kept the franchise alive, but unfortunately, it went down a path I didn't care for too much. Unlike Mr. Wolf, I was not a fan of the being able to, I guess, not let your people die permanently. I felt that was what made Fire Emblem stand out from other strategy games, is that you had to care about what you were doing or what the units were, and you had to like be like, all right, do I risk losing this person, or do I try to figure out another way to like get them EXP or make sure that they get the kill, or just whatever was going on the map. It made you have to rethink, like, do I really want something bad to go on for this person? Because things will happen very quickly where it's like, oh, this is fine, and then there's a mage that's attacking you, and now there's an archer that's attacking you, and then the freaking boss comes up, and it's like, oh, cool, the guy I've made the most investment in is dead. Well, now I'm restarting because fuck you, I'm not losing him. I'll figure this out another way to how to either get you to come to me so that it's more favorable for me and what I want to do, or I'll just try something else different and see what happens. And I feel like some of that went away with Awakening, because Awakening was a lot nicer, and with the casual mode, and also with that's when you get to freaking make babies, right?
Yes.
Phase.
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
That was okay. So the reason why you get to make children in Awakening, it was a story specific purpose. It wasn't like a mechanic that they tried to introduce. It was a mechanic because it's a part of the game that you have to do, but it also the mechanic was it was an excuse for the mechanic was needed for the story progression because you pretty much do. I'm gonna say you come to like a impasse.
Yeah.
Halfway through the
Spoilers, you
game.
lose and you try to freaking
Yeah,
change
there you go.
history.
Right. You lose, and your children from the future come back to the past to assist their parents. Now
Whoever
the way
seen
that
Dragon Ball Z, just think of the cell
Yeah, I
sign.
was gonna say, yeah, think Trunks.
I think Trunks going back to the past to save, them from the androids, or try to, because he didn't do that. So that was for story purposes, and I think that's what made me okay. And what also made me okay with the children was the fact that it allowed you to customize them the way you wanted them to be. So it was controlled. So it's not like they was like, okay, well, these are the characters and these characters made these children and you have to deal with these children the way they were. You can make children with pretty much any character and they would pick one character that the child will be based off of. But depend on the parent that you paired them with, the child's stats will change. So right.
And that was my problem.
But I thought that was a pretty cool mechanic because you
I know,
get to
I know
kind of
you.
you get to create like the ultimate child, right? Like
I know, and that's why I had a problem because it catered to people like you. He's like, I'm going to min max the shit out of all my children.
Oh no, there was a lot of forced marriages going on in this playthrough. It wasn't about love.
Yeah, it was not. It was not. All right, I'm going to use this character and I'm going to make something out of them, or you know what, this character sucks. But if you really invest in them, there'll be something good. Not that I ever use those people because fuck that. But still. And then Awakening was like, you know what? You can just make the best characters, all of them. Just have all the characters be the best.
all of them. There's just half of the cast where you can mold into what you wanted them to be if you did your research to know that Crom. Actually, they did it. They did Crom well because he could. No matter what child he made, Lucina was going to be broken regardless, because of the stats that she inherited from him. But like you had the little girl, I won't say she's a little girl, but the younger main female character with like the blonde hair and the dress or whatever, her child could have been. You can develop him to being an amazing mage, if you had combined her with. If you had married her off to another mage, I believe that's how it went. And it was just like, if you wanted that child to be a physical hitter that uses swords and lances and axes, you could do that. You just had to fix that primary parent, with another character that would allow that. Or if you just wanted to stack on what they inherited from their parent and just make this beast of a mage that's hidden for like 100 HP damage, you could do that too. That's in a sense of every word. That's that control that video game gave me, which is why I love Awakening so much.
Yeah, I know. That's why it went down for me, because it's like, all right, I don't care about these characters anymore. I care about you, but I care about you for the wrong reasons. I care about you now because how do you make good character? Like, I need you for stats.
Yeah,
I don't need you for you.
Which it would Fire Emblem always kind of facilitated that, because if you go back to,
they had those, like, obviously just this unit just obviously better than everybody else.
Right,
like leaps and bounds.
Like, for a fact that having Marth or Ike or Roy or Lynn in your party, that's like a guaranteed spot because they're good. They're designed to be good. We're not going to make the main character suck.
Well, sad note, Lynn was actually bad, but her weapon was good, so that was like her small saving grace.
Okay.
But she by comparison to everybody else was kind of bad, but she was more average, I should say.
Right, okay. But for the most part, the main character is always good. And then you had certain characters that, this, if you go further back in time, this is before, in the internet, this is before you could read the game code and like, these are the hard numbers. There were just certain characters that felt good. Like, it's like, this guy, he hits hard, he's always critting. This mage, their magic stat levels up like every single time. So you just had a feeling that a character was good. And old Fire Emblem, did not have level grinding. You gained your levels as you did the battles in the story. So what that meant was
very rare for a game to allow you to do that.
Yeah, like there was
Tactical
very
RPG. Yeah.
yeah, there was very limited EXP to go around. So quickly, people started falling by the wayside. It's like, yeah, you might have some funny dialogue, but you're not good. This Pegasus Knight is better. So sorry, this Pegasus Knight stays on my team. So what Awakening did was Awakening kind of, depending on who you ask, it modernized or it casualized, which I could agree with both, the Fire Emblem experience, because that was the game that introduced level grinding, repeatable skirmish maps that have been in the series ever since. So now you could kind of work on that unit that wasn't from the get-go best in slot. You could kind of work on him or her, and kind of bring them up to speed. And it introduced the okay, so I'm just gonna address it because it's gonna come up. Fire
Before you
Emblem
go there,
Awakening.
is it also? Did they also get the DLC in that one, or was that Fates?
No, Awakening had DLC.
Yes.
No, but I know one of them had a DLC where it's like, oh, use this stage specifically to get better EXP and money. I don't
I
remember.
know.
If it started in Awakening, or if
Okay.
that was the next one.
Yeah,
All right,
they
I know
both
for a
did it.
fact Fates had it, and I
Yeah.
hated Fates version because in the money and the EXP missions, the enemies would run away from you.
Yep.
So
Oh.
you had to like catch up to them to kill them to get the money or EXP. I'm like, bro, I paid for this map. Why are you running away from me?
Never mind.
That was the flaw in Fates, because what ended up happening is your long range units were the ones that was getting it, because
Yes.
your swordsman doesn't move enough spaces to keep up with it. And my personal opinion, sorry if I offend anyone, I think the units that use horses are not good on a general level. So I don't really keep units that use horses.
I mean, that's just factual, though.
Okay. Well, you got those out there who with their
But
unique
that's the
favorites.
thing. That became the meta in Fates. It became, if it's a bowman, put that bitch on a horse. If it's a mage user, put that bitch on a horse. It's a paladin, put that bitch on a horse. Like everything became cavalry because you needed that movement speed. And
Exactly.
my boy Heavy Knight, he got shafted because he's got like 4 movement speed, and the horse has got like 6 or 7. It's like, I'm sorry, bro, I can't get you to the fight.
Exactly. And it was
Not unless it's a defense map, and then it's just like, hey, my time.
Yeah.
that was another thing too. But yeah, it definitely did have situations like that where it was just like, okay, I can't do this. So I didn't like Fate's own with the whole running away stuff. But I believe with the Awakening also had it, where you had some units that would run away from you based on what they had or was holding. But the maps in Awakening to me were smaller, and because of a wonderful skill called Gale Force, I think it was called Gale Force, you could actually catch up to those units. So yeah, that was my experience anyway.
That was another thing that got that Awakening. You could make busted units because you could take certain skills from units and keep them. So the name of the game was to fucking like kind of go on a spree with your seals and just kind of reclass everybody. You had people walking around with Soul and Luna. Excuse me? 2 of the best fucking skills in Fire Emblem. Oh, I can heal a percentage time. Oh, and I'm just gonna do extra damage.
Yes.
It's like you could just break that game wide open. It's just like, I love it. Wolf loves it, but it's just like,
Boomer and me does not love it. Boomer and me is raging right now, screaming about back in my day.
Yeah.
Sorry, but it's what the game needed. It was a necessity.
Was it?
Let's talk about the thing that saved Fire Emblem, and the same thing that I think is not killing Fire Emblem, but I just kind of wish I didn't see a whole lot of. And I know the anime profile pictures. I know I'm speaking for myself. If you could see my Discord picture, you laugh. But the whole let's start the whole social aspect that was put into Awakening. The bonding turning into eventual romance. Look, I'm just going to speak for myself. Yeah, I'm just going to speak for myself. I'm not a fan of it. I don't like it that much. there are plenty of animes I could watch if I want to see that. It's the main reason why I prefer Shin Megami Tensei over Fire Emblem. Not disrespecting Fire Emblem. Not disrespecting the Persona series. I'm sorry. I've played all the Persona games. It's just I'm not a part of that slice of life romance, girl courting the guy. I don't want that in my game. I don't want that in my strategy game. I just want to play the fantasy game, fight the dragons, fight the big bads, and do it in the strategy format. But that is the reason why we have more Fire Emblems today. Because it was that mechanic. It was like the implementation of anime archetypes. You had your waifu characters, you had your tsundere characters, you had
what's that bitch name from Fates that just basically fucking just skyrocketed things even more?
Oh, you're talking about the mage?
Camilla?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, she wasn't even the main character. You wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know.
She's the main character. She's the main character.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she is.
What's a Korin? I don't give a shit.
Yeah, she is definitely the main character.
So it's like
Korin didn't even get added to mad late in fucking Smash Brothers. I'm sure they were thinking about it. Like, do we have to put them in?
It's like,
Can we not just get away with it?
He/she is technically the protagonist.
Yeah, but do we have to? I'm money down. I guarantee they thought about it.
They probably did, but I was like, well, she started off as a wyvern knight, and that'd be real weird to put into Smash Brothers. I don't know how they would finagle that, but
figure out a way.
Yeah. But it was that saved Fire Emblem, but it's that I don't like, and it's been in every game since. It was in Fates.
Everything other than the remake for Echoes.
Echoes, yes.
That's because Echoes is fucking a Nintendo game that's just been redone.
They just made it pretty, yeah. But and it's in Engage, and I know, trust me, I know about the dialogue in the Western version. Hot take, I don't care. I'm not a big fan of censorship. I agree, but I'm sorry. I don't want to romance Anne, and Wolf knows the Anne in this game. I don't want to romance a child. I just don't. I'm sorry. I don't. So call me bigoted, call me fucking a boomer. I don't care. I don't want that in my strategy game. I just want my strategy game.
Dare you? This is historically accurate.
So anyway, let me get off my soapbox, and someone else can get on the soapbox, and they can talk about this before we move on to Engage talk.
As far as like the romance in it, it was an interesting scenario when Awakening introduced it. But like I said again, after understanding Awakening's mechanic, the romance became something more. It was more intertwined with the actual, like, to affect the actual gameplay, because yes, the romance thing or the bonding aspect of it is actually what it's called. In other, it granted certain things, like the characters would get boosts when they're next to each other, or they defend for each other, or like
dodge for each other. It all interplays into why I don't like it.
It all interplayed into that, which again was very Persona-ish. Because in Persona, like, the more your social link goes up with your party members, your party members will start to defend the main character.
They'll heal you. They'll freaking pick you up if you get stunned. All kinds.
Take a hit for you if it was going to kill
you. Right, stuff like that. So that implemented was in Awakening. So when you look at Awakening was the closest to what I liked about Persona. Like when I explained to Gunnar in our Persona podcast, which you can find, by the way. When I explained it to him, I was like, the one thing I feel like Persona did right is that even though there is a quote unquote boring aspect to it, by building the social link, it all works back into the gameplay, because you're not just building the social link because it's just like for the story aspect of the game and that's about it. No, it actually affected your gameplay. It made it worth doing. Awakening attempted that in a way where it introduced them protecting you, on the flip side, also the second half of your characters was affected by those bonds, especially the romantic ones. So once I understood that about Awakening, I went back and I was like, okay, well, mathematically speaking, who are the best combinations? And I understand what, Zeta was saying earlier, like it became less about the characters and more about the numbers. So for me, because I am somebody who cares about, having complete control when I play my video games, that was important to me, to how the second half of the characters are going to be implemented into the game. Whereas the Fates and Conquest did not have that. It had the bond system and the characters will help each other out on the field, but they didn't have where you could make the children and then the children would, stats would be based on your combinations. So it became less important to me in a way. It became less important to me. And then Three Houses just killed it. I'm so sorry, but Three Houses was overdone. Three Houses was boring. And then I had to do this for three storylines to fully understand all the characters.
Yeah, you had to do it 3 times.
I didn't know that. I just didn't buy it because I was just like, this is just going to be more of the same. But the stuff I mean, I own it now, but I bought it on sale. But like at the time, I didn't buy it because I was just like, it's just going to be more of the same of what I don't want.
No, it's by far the worst one because it's forced upon you. Like Three Houses. Let me see if I play.
Didn't they also take out the whole weapon? Freaking triangle thing.
They took out the weapon
triangle,
which was another reason. Like, so literally the entire thing that this is based off of is just gone. Well, one of the major things that this is based off is just gone. So we're just units smacking each other.
Exactly. That's what Fire Emblem became for Three Houses. It was literally just units, beating down on each other, and it just carried the Fire Emblem name. Did it have the Fire Emblem flair in terms of like presentation? Yes, it did. Yeah. But it didn't have that tactical aspect of what makes Fire Emblem a tactical game. And even though I do love the casual setting where your characters return after losing, it's not that big a deal now that you can actually farm your EXP. It was a bigger deal back then because who you use is who you used. And there's no going back on that. If you didn't use your mage for 3 chapters and they were below 3 levels, you couldn't use them on the 4th chapter because they're already behind. They can't catch up. You're gonna just lose your mage. But whereas like Awakening or like the newer Fire Emblem games, I can completely ignore a character till end game and find out they're really good, or I just want to use them. And before I even beat the final boss, go back and level that character up to fit everybody else on my team. And I think that's important because you allow the player to play with other characters, and to even change their mind when they hit late game. Things like that do happen. Like I'm about to change out one of my mages in Engage right now. And if it was old style, I couldn't. I wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, that I'll agree. Yeah, I do like that. Yeah.
So
you should play again with new people.
Yeah, no. So with Three Houses, it was you had to eat with them. You had to talk to them. You had to teach them multiple subjects. You had you had to go fishing. You had to. It was just like.
Yeah, I had to found his fucking calculator and give it to him so I could give it to him as a gift and I get more fucking party experience.
You had to have tea. Yeah. Which was like a 10-minute experience.
Bro, I looked up a fucking tea guide to find out the best choices to maximize my bond. Like, what am I doing? Where's my strategy game at? Why am I having tea time?
This is not
Persona Light.
No. Persona did it right because the reason why
it's right, but it's still Persona Light. It's trying to be like Persona.
It's trying. Yeah, it was trying to be like Persona.
That's all Persona Light.
Persona stories was different. Like Persona stories take balls to watch without getting in your without like, whoa, like this shit. Like you're supposed to be a main character, but you're jealous of your best friend. That's fucking crazy. Like you have 2 females on your team who are jealous of each other. Like that means they can cut each other's throat. at any given moment. Like, that's crazy, right? But no, instead, I'm sitting here and I'm watching this one complain about, yes, my father, who was a noble back in the country, wants me to be better, so he sent me out to this school. Or the best one was the girl who was poor, so she sleeps with men to get money to go to the school. That's pretty much what her story was, if you read between the lines, right? But other than that, it was just like the storylines are boring. The characters are not memorable. I think I can only remember maybe 3 characters off the top of my head.
Is it the 3 characters on the box?
I don't even know their names. The 3 characters on the box, I don't know their names. I know, well, I call the main character Instructor. And I know Petra, because she was one of the characters I used often because her critical hit rate was really good. And what's his name? It was a boy, like Caster, something like that.
I think it's Casper.
Something like that. Right?
See, this is ananother problem with 4 houses, because 3 houses, the 4th one, I don't know.
We added a new one. DLC.
The 3 houses, they had a. Okay, so another thing about Fire Emblem, real quick, is that they never gave you the full cast of characters. Right? In the beginning of any Fire Emblem, you start off with main character and his immediate entourage. And that might be like 5 units.
Yeah.
3 houses gave you fucking everyone. You knew everybody in the roster was in the game. Because the 3 houses had a certain number of characters who were all recruitable. Come to find out, even some of the fucking instructors and teachers were recruitable. So it's just like they threw so much onto you that you either stuck with your house and that was your party for the remainder of the game, past the point of no return, or you maximized your school time to kind of recruit people and bring them over to your house before the time skip where you would lose
pretty much
access to those people.
Yeah.
So I know you didn't play it, Zeta. So there's a point in the game where there's a time skip and the characters grow up, and the people, the house that you chose at the beginning of the game, you get all those people back. And whoever you recruited to join your house before that time skip comes back to you. The remainder of the classmates become your enemies, and you fight them. Mm-hmm. So if you didn't get a girl or a guy because they were in another house during your chapters where you were a school instructor, you ain't getting them back.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, that's like pressure that I gotta maximize my time, or I'm gonna lose this girl because she goes with Edelgard and not with me because I didn't choose Edelgard in the beginning. So it's just like you're forcing a tacked on mechanic on me to ensure I get party members instead of just introducing the party members as the story progresses, and then I decide who I want my final army to be. That's what 3 houses did.
Mind you, it's 3 different storylines. So if you wanted the full story on everybody's perspective fully, that's 3 playthroughs. 3 playthroughs of you I'm gonna say 60% of the game was you in the school building relationships so that by the time you hit mid-game, these become these people can become your allies permanently. It was just like, for me, I just found that to be a boring experience.
Yep. And again, like, in normal Fire Emblem, you're just like, okay, you meet the requirements, cool. You go from a swordsman to a swordmaster. Congratulations. In this game, you have to take tests, which they could fail.
What? Yeah. Stop. No, don't tell me that.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I would save scum and just keep reloading until they pass the test. And it's just like, why can I not just give you the master seal and you advance to the next class?
Just, take you to the fucking altar, pray to freaking whoever you pray to, and then you just class up like a normal person.
It's there, but so say you wanted to change your mage into being a lance fighter for whatever reason, right? Say you wanted to do that. You had to get them the weapon proficiency, and to get them the weapon proficiency, they had to go through class.
Yeah.
That's going to build that weapon proficiency, and then they'll take tests and stuff like that they have to pass. And once they get the weapon proficiency upgraded, then you can use the master seal to change them over. However, in this, it would be so like in other Fire Emblem games, all you needed was the weapon itself, the weapon proficiency itself. In this game, you needed weapon proficiency grade. So sometimes you'd have grade D, C, B, and A, and S, of course. So you couldn't just change your knight over to being a great knight just because you have lance proficiency. You need lance proficiency C.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you had to upgrade lance proficiency from D to C, which means they have to go to class that increases lance proficiency. And then you have to build a bond with them so they can use it in battles more often. And then once you get to C, you can then go ahead and upgrade them to Great Lancer or something like that.
Yep.
That's just an example.
Mind you, you could only do that during the class sections. On the tactical combat, didn't matter. It's not like you had an option where if you stab them enough with the lance, they'll slowly raise. It's just like, I mean, granted, it would raise their proficiencies after the battle ended. So one, they needed to participate. Two, they needed to stay alive so they can get those proficiencies at the end of the battle. But most of it came from the class. It's just like, why am I
most
doing
of it came
all
from
this?
that as the social aspect of it.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's
Need to go back.
yeah.
Well,
Three
hey.
Houses was acclaimed to be one of the best Fire Emblems ever to exist, and I'm gonna say what Gunna Eos. I'm gonna piggyback on him and say it. The reason why is because I feel like it was just less gameplay and more Fire Emblem experience. Like it's not. You're playing Fire Emblem because that's what they put on the title.
Right,
and that's what they
it's
put
like,
on the box.
oh, I get to hang out with my waifu and have tea, and oh, she winked at me. It's like, that's not what I'm here for, bro. If that's what you're here for, there are games out there for you. It's like, but please, let this not be Fire Emblem.
I just want to slay a dragon and talk about war politics, not.
That's it.
Well,
I just
that's all I want. I just want war politics.
Not Engage. What's it called? Three Houses was that. It was literally a political warfare because it
don't sound like it with how y'all describe it. It would fucking go into class and shit.
So yellow guy, blue guy, and red girl, is what I'm gonna call them. They all were like princes or royalties of their own countries, and then their classmates was kind of like their retainers or people that come from their country.
Yeah.
Somewhat, right? That's somewhat what it was, and so the political stance of it was that you were going to a school of because Fire Emblem is all about royalty. You hardly ever get like normal people as the cast of Fire Emblem. It's usually princes, princesses, kings, and queens. Anyways, a lot of them were nobles. So they had the money to attend this amazingly rich Hogwarts school.
God, yeah, that's what it felt like.
Right.
Oh my God.
Right, because it was a castle, pretty much. The school it seemed like a castle. That's what they designed it off of anyway. Anyways, so it was a lot of political things in there. Like I remember one character saying, like he wants to prove to his noble father that he can control his country or run the country the way his brother could run the country. And then there was another one who was the complete opposite, where he didn't want to do all of that. Like he wasn't interested in nobility. He just wanted to live his life. And then you had, like Red Girl, she was all about war. She was very straightforward. Like, I'll be peaceful with you with blue guy and yellow guy, but y'all step out of line, I'm chopping y'all down.
I'll show you our peaceful nature by force.
Right. That's how she was. So it really was a political, to me, it was probably the most political Fire Emblem game.
I guess, yeah, if you had to rank it, it was like the most quote unquote serious storyline in the Fire Emblems, because Fire Emblem is pretty basic. It's very fantasy. Big bad fell dragon wants to do bad things to world. You as hero and your merry band fight against big bad. And then, you come out on top and you beat the bad guy. That's kind of Fire Emblem's basic story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why I'm confused. I'm like how does the dragon play into this, and how is the betrayals playing into this if we're all going to school together?
It happens.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a big
Yeah.
there's a big plot twist, which leads into the time skip. But okay, so let's head off to our final segment and the final bit of this podcast, talking about the latest game that came out recently, Fire Emblem Engage for the Nintendo Switch. Now I've have a couple hours in it. I know Wolf has a couple hours of it. I know you, Zeta, you don't own it yet.
Yeah, not
So we're just going to talk about, because we haven't beaten the game. I certainly haven't. So we're just going to talk about some of the stuff we've run into the game, our initial thoughts about it, characters, design choices, blah, blah, blah. And I think we'll end it with some Engage talk for our podcast this evening. So I'll start real quick. I think when you compare Engage to its predecessor, Three Houses, which we just talked about, I like Engage vastly more than Three Houses. The story has gone back to a simple story. Fell Dragon is resurrected. You have to use these Engage rings to fight Fell Dragon to save world. Now, if you go on the internet, people will say it's stupid, the story's crap, it's threadbare, but it's just like, that's how I know they haven't played a lot of Fire Emblem, because that was always Fire Emblem's story. It was never deep. It was never impactful. It didn't make me sit in my chair and think about my life choices. It was just a high fantasy story. Dragons, wizards, elves, just fucking J.R.R. Tolkien all day long. It was just high fantasy. So I don't mind it. I really don't, because I'm here for the tactical gameplay, and that's what Engage gives you. The tactical gameplay is phenomenal in Engage. They brought back the weapon system.
Oh, thank God.
Which now plays a critical role in how you maneuver your units, because they have a break mechanic in the game now. So
She's kicking my ass, yeah.
Yeah. So if you get broken, that means you can't counterattack me. And if enemies attack you in that same turn, you're still broken. You cannot counterattack anyone. You will either dodge or you will get hit. So it makes you really think, do I push this swordsman into a group of axe wielders? Because if one of them breaks me, I could potentially be fucked. So again, strategy in my strategy RPG. Wild concept. So that adds a layer of depth to the game. And the crazy thing about it for me, the social aspects are largely ignorable. They have like a hub world, kind of like the castle from Three Houses called the Solium, where you can do the same shit Wolf talked about. You can fish, you can have dinner with your companions, you can polish your emblem rings to make them nice and shiny. Thing is, you don't have to do any of that. You could just every time you complete a map, they give you an option. Go back to the Solium or go to next chapter, which means you can start the game and never go back there. And complete the game and be successful. So, for me, from my time with Engage, I'm enjoying it vastly more because I can just go back like old Fire Emblem. I can just play my tactical RPG, think about my moves. It's still very anime. Like they got any hair color under the sun, it's there. You got your pink, your red, your blue, it's there. They're still kind of anime archetype, but that's not going anywhere. And you know what? I've learned to live with that. I have to live with it.
Yeah, no, that's stuck forever now.
Yeah.
Well, I got a question actually. So, in regards to like the slice of life aspect for Engage, is there an incentive to doing it, or is the mechanic implemented just to quell the new audience of Fire Emblem?
Now Wolf can comment on it. I know they have like a C to S system, S being the romance option, A being like we're good buddies, we're best friends. I haven't seen I don't know, I haven't seen them because the only characters that will assist me when they attack is a specific class that their function is if they're next to an allied unit, they will assist. So I have people at like B rank bond, and they don't jump in and take a hit for me or jump in and like attack for me. So I really don't know what it is other than you just having some like lore about the character, which I guess it's cool, but it's not fundamental like it was in Three Houses, Awakening, and Birthright and Fates. Sorry. So it's there. You can use it. There's a controversy about the English translations, but it doesn't really impact the game to the point where if I ignore it, I'm putting myself at a severe detriment in my gameplay. So I'll bring it a wolf before I burn up the rest of our time on me.
Honestly, I don't see where it's needed in this particular game. Like Awakening, I think had the best implementation for the slice of life aspect. As far as Engage goes, it's just learning really about the character and where they're from, like a side thing about them. With the bonding that is important to the game is the bonding of the emblem rings, which are the older characters. That's important because as you increase their bonds from level 1 to level 10, you learn skills that you can put on your characters and customize your characters in a way where you want them, how you want them to operate. So the emblem rings have bonds level to them that you should be increasing because you want those skills to make your characters better. But as far as like character to character goes, no, it's just there because, they introduced the mechanic so many years ago, and now it's kind of like a part of the main game now. So
yeah.
And
you level the bond rings via, guess what? Gameplay.
Yeah.
Now there is an option in the hub world to kind of speed that option up, but it just takes in-game resources, thank God. And there is a gacha system with rings.
Take your credit card soon enough. Just wait.
I mean, there is a DLC pack, so if you bought it, they already did. There is gacha in the game, but it is nowhere near the level of Xenoblade Chronicles, which was what I was afraid of. And Wolf told us that it's not that bad. I did my research, and then when the game come out, I'm like, okay, it's not bad. It's not
I don't
make or
even use
break.
it. To be honest, I don't
Well,
use it.
I would recommend you do put rings on them because that's how they earn SP.
like that's how they earn SP. My characters are getting SPs, but because of my training with Fire Emblem, I kind of narrow it down because Fire Emblem will give you 30 characters, but you can only use about 8 or 10 per stage. Really?
Yeah.
So the way I look at it is, well, who's going to be my 10 best characters? That's it. And again, because I can go back and train old characters if I want to, I'm allowed that option, right? So I can say to myself, okay, well, I like these 8 people, or at least these 5 characters, and I know they're going to be on my team all the time. I'm going to invest into them, and that's that. So, yeah, okay, I guess I'll start using it. I'd rather use my SPs on putting skills on my characters, and trying to experiment that way to find what's good combinations. But if the rings is going to get more SP by doing the stupid gacha system with the bond fragments.
The ring is how you earn SP in general. So bond rings will give the character that has the bond ring SP, or emblem ring, sorry. And the bond rings, which are just basically characters from that main character's game, for those who don't know, they give you SP. So even if they're not even if they're not your main, just put a ring on them. Insert Beyonce song here. Just put a ring on it, and they will earn SP. Period. So you don't eventually screw yourself over because there's only so many Engage rings in the game.
Yeah, there is only but so much.
But the gacha system isn't bad. It's not as bad as I thought.
Yeah, it's nowhere near significant. Obviously, made it to a few chapters well in, and I have not used it yet. So clearly, it's an option.
So that's the moral of the story with Engage. A lot of the fluff is just an option. If you want to see how your character, what does my character do for his morning routine? Raise his bond level, and you'll find out. But if you don't care, just go play your strategy RPG. Yeah. It's there. It's fun. You don't have to interact with it.
Right. So what your main issues are, Zeta, is kind of not necessary to worry about. It's there. It's prevalent in terms of the game teaches you about it and kind of puts you in a situation so that it puts you in instances for all aspects of the game so that you understand that this is a potential mechanic. So yes, there's going to be a point in the game where they're going to talk about building bonds with your characters, with your other characters, and it's going to put you in that instance in the beginning to explain so that you have that example to go by.
Yeah, yeah.
If you don't ever want to build bonds with your opponent, with your characters, you don't ever have to. At least I haven't seen yet where it's a play.
Maybe at A or S rank, but from like C to B, I haven't seen.
Yeah,
a
C to
noticeable
B, I
thing.
haven't seen anything either. You know, you do want to build the bonds with your emblem rings, but your emblem rings, because they're warriors, they get their bond EXP from battle. So
Ooh, crazy concepts.
So you want to be in the tactical aspect of it. And the resources are fair to you, I think. I don't feel like I have to struggle to get anything because I'm short on this or short on that. I haven't hit that road yet anyways. The weapon system has changed in a sense of where you do have swords beat axes, axes beat lance, lance beat swords. However, if a sword user hits an axe user, because sword has an advantage, the axe user cannot retaliate to the sword user because he'll break him. So the axe user will drop his weapon for that turn.
Yeah.
Now, the crazy thing is armored knights and armored cavalry, because they're armored, they kind of resist it. So they're the only ones who's using any given weapon that can retaliate because you can't break them.
Yeah.
Fist has an advantage over all the other weird weapons like tomes and bows and stuff like that.
And daggers, yeah.
And daggers. But daggers is powerful in its own right. And bows is bows. We all know bows is always good. Another thing too is with the weapons, you can either find your weapons or progress the story to be able to buy your weapons, or you can build your weapons.
Yes.
And make them stronger or evolve them into other weapons using resources. So there's a lot of things there's a lot of, how can I put it, quality of life aspects.
Do they break, or are we still not breaking?
No, they don't.
They got rid. I don't think that's ever coming back.
Yeah, they don't break anymore. And
all
you
right,
know what?
well, I'll give that up.
You're not gonna really miss it, because this game, because it's so focused on battles, I feel like the AI does a lot of smart things, or if you're looking for a challenge, the game will challenge you in a lot of ways.
It's just like, know, you have I guess if you call them signature weapons that you're like, all right, this weapon is clearly better than the other, but I can only use it like 10 times. So like, I'm going to use it when I really need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, like in old Monster Hunter games where we would drink the potion and flex. Yeah, that's gone.
Yeah. But I mean, the fact that there's no longer weapon breaking is a dual-edged sword, because it allows you to make these hyper-focused builds. Because right now I have a swordsman or swordsmaster with a katana that has a high crit rate. So 45% of the time she will crit. And that's fucking amazing. I'm trying to get it to 50. If I can get it to half the time she will crit, it's gonna be amazing.
But
it's gonna be so.
You just made Lynn with her signature weapon, which is the main reason why I like Lynn so much when I first played the game.
I put crit weapons on all my characters, all of them.
So because you can do the killer edge weapons, and they're infinite now.
Right. I'm not playing. Like, I want my crits.
You could do that now because they removed the weapon breaking. So
the weapon breaking system. And then there are other things too that, like, don't, just because you can crit doesn't make you crazy strong. It really doesn't. If you don't know what you're doing, then you can lose characters. Like, I was just doing a stage. Right. I was just doing a stage and I lost half my team because I was overly confident to the enemy. But it does have a lot of quality of life changes. Like, you have this reverse turn aspect, where if you're playing on harder difficulties, you can only do it 3 times per battle. But if you're playing on normal, it's infinite. So you can reverse your turns as much as you want. Or if you get a game over, instead of getting a game over screen, the game would tell you to reverse and, fix your errors.
Super Robot Wars did that, but I can't remember.
Yeah, but I honestly don't see you as a player playing on normal. I just don't see it with you.
No.
Honestly, I'm kind of annoyed in myself that I started the game on normal,
Bro,
and I'm
the
so
re-
upset that I can't change it.
I got back to chapter 11 from normal to hard because I had to restart the game because normal was just too easy. And
Yeah,
I'm not trying to flex, but it's which is fine
No,
if it's
it's just the natural progression of what has happened since Awakening. Has been my
yeah.
complaint.
Normal is too easy. Like
yeah. So I restarted the game on hard, but yeah, it does suck. You can only go down in difficulty. You can't go back up, which is kind of dumb.
yeah,
They
it's
used
kind
to
of
be
dumb.
able to. I don't remember what it was, or if that was only a Ike thing, where it's like if you did, I think you had to collect coins or something. It was something dumb, and I think it would help increase the difficulty. Or I might just be confusing that naturally
Hmm.
with old Super Robot Wars games, where if you got the special points and missions, the game would progressively get more difficult.
Mm.
Well,
I
this
could be
game
confusing
I
both.
love. I'm really loving Engage. I highly suggest anybody who has a Nintendo Switch and can tolerate JRPG tactical games to pick up Fire Emblem Engage. I don't think it's a waste of money. I feel if you bought Three Houses, even if it's on sale, it's a waste of money.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Sticker.
That's just my personal opinion of
Hey
it.
man,
But and I own Three Houses physical
same.
copy.
I own it too.
Right. So I have the physical copy that I can look at and say and remind myself of a bad decision that I've made in history, in my past. But on the flip side of it, Engage, I think, really brought the game back to what it should be. And this is what Fire Emblem Engage is what video games should be, in my personal opinion. It is
Yeah.
a game. You play it. You don't read and listen to nice voiceovers and build bonds and drink tea. You play it. It is a game. You
And
play
it's
games.
still has that fluffy stuff. If you like it, it's still there, but it's not imposed on gamers like
You know
us.
what? It's taking a back seat. So if
Yeah.
you're buying a video game, expect to press more than just the A button.
Yeah.
You will be pressing other buttons. You will be thinking. You will be actively doing what Fire Emblem puts itself or categorizes itself as. At that point, it should no longer be a tactical RPG. It should be placed in the, what do they call those games? That's like Alan Wake. What are those games called? There's a category for them.
Walking simulators, narrative
I mean,
driven.
that's the evil
Narrative
way of saying it
driven.
is.
Yeah, narrative games or something
Okay.
like that. Right.
Okay.
That's what
I don't want to
Three
say what you
Houses
call it.
was.
I don't want to call it freaking kinetic novel because you technically can move around, so it's not a novel per se.
Whatever. It's definitely not a tactical RPG.
Yeah.
Fire Emblem Engage is a tactical RPG. It's focused on the battles. It's focused on you understanding what you're doing. You do get heavy repercussions for making mistakes, especially if you play on higher difficulties. And you know what? I'm not a fan of the way the main character looks.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm
So are we
really
going to talk
not.
about that, or are we just going to ignore it? And just
Anybody
accept
who
it?
dunks on the main character's look, I say I got nothing.
Yeah,
Dunk all day.
I'm still waiting to complete the story to see if they explain his look or her look, depending on the
Oh,
vendor.
I
that
picked the
you pick.
guy, so I see less of the hair.
Right.
Yeah, because I would like to know
Yeah.
why the mother looks normal and what the fuck happened to me when I came
Yeah.
out.
Which I'm pretty sure I read that they said it's a part of the story, so let's
Yeah,
see
I'm sure
it'll
it is.
it'll be
Right.
revealed.
There are characters that I do refuse to use for certain things. Sorry, but put it out there. However, I feel like the characters are really vibrant. They're interesting. They're fun to remember.
There is a character out there for you. If you like a certain anime archetype, there's probably a character in Engage that fits it.
Yeah, like I really love Yunaka as a character. I like her character. I like Chloe. There's a bunch of them. Diamant, I think his name is Diamant.
Yeah.
Gunnar Diamant is crazy. He's the only character that learned Soul.
He learned Soul. I was like,
Yeah.
you're in. You made the cut. Come
He
on.
made the cut. Yeah. So Diamant.
And his
is
brother gets
Character with
Luna.
good ability.
Luna. Huh?
Telling me
What is-
character with good ability you put on your team? Crazy.
It's just-
Just didn't force babies to come out and just be broken.
Not,
No.
He had soul, so he was in.
Yeah, Diamant is on my team permanently, you know, and he's amazing. But I have nothing bad. I can come up with little nitpicks here and there about it.
Yeah.
But I have nothing bad about the game so far. Like, I really think it's the only franchise that Nintendo has been releasing as of late that's been living up to its title. I'm looking at you, Scarlet and Violet.
Oh,
But you know, it is what it is.
it is what it is. Yeah. So, moral of the story: Engage is shaping up to be a great game. We haven't completed it yet. We'll get there. We might make a follow-up video when me, Wolf, and Zeta finish the game and let you know our final thoughts on it. So, I'll wrap it up here. I hope you enjoyed our Fire Emblem conversation. You got something out of it. The whole YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know how you feel. Disagree, agree. And I will pass it off to our closer.
Oh, that's me. I get to... I'm still here, guys.
It's to engage with the conversation. Oh,
got him.
Hey, so it's BlankaKong here to close out the episode. In case you're wondering, I have played Fire Emblem games. I just didn't have enough. I didn't want to interject with anything, right? I did play the first one on GBA. I played Awakening and finished that. I played the one on GameCube. I haven't bought Engage yet, but it's on the bucket list, so we'll see. But anyways, if you guys enjoyed this conversation, leave a comment down below and a like. Subscribe for more content. We release a podcast every week on Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern. On the description down below, we have our links to our not YouTube. You're already on YouTube. On Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as the Discord that we run. Mr. Esoteric, he runs the main channel on Twitch, so check him out. He streams 2 to 3 times a week, so follow him there at Logical Gamers TV on Twitch, and we'll catch you next one. Peace.
Take care.